I said that at that time that we had perhaps a Camelot there, a utopia, a unique situation. We were a very unusual group, and we are. We're a very close-knit group. Why? Because of Mr. Lombardi, without question. He is why. We've all adopted his philosophy of life to a certain extent, and his philosophy of football to a larger extent. I defended him a certain amount at that time because he had been under a great deal of criticism from the press in a number of different occasions. And they had made him out to be a tough, hard, cold, cruel, mean individual. Well, he is a striving, driving perfectionist, and at times he is forced or forces himself to be a hard, tough individual. And it again is out of necessity. The job calls for it. You have to be to win. We all understand this. We all know this. There are many other sides to the man other than the hard, tough, cruel side. He's a warm, wonderful man also.
And he's just a great man. I think that he has a real sensitive feel for every player. When he's on that football field, I think he treats everyone alike, and which is pretty tough. When he's off, I think you can go to him with a personal problem. But as a football coach, I think as a strategist, as a person who really can analyze the opponent, I've never been associated with a coach that I think can do a greater job. Probably one of the other real things that Coach Lombardi does is he puts a lot of time into his coaching, and I think each player respects him for it. And I think when he asks us to do something, we feel like it's kind of a small thing for us to do is to go out and really play for him on Sunday, because we know that he would do just as much in our behalf as we could do in his.
I had always had the feeling that I would make any sacrifices necessary to achieve any amount of success. I was totally dedicated to what I was doing, but having been associated with Coach Lombardi for several years, I found that here was a man that was so totally dedicated, who really could analyze things for you and present things in their proper perspective and places to give you the incentive and the motivation and the reasonings behind the necessity for self-sacrifice, for self-discipline.
Vince Lombardi, as a football coach, I think has very few, if any, faults that I would know, and I've played under several coaches. And Mr. Lombardi not only has the knowledge, the fundamental knowledge, but he has this something that you can't put your finger on that makes these guys like myself and all these other people get up and play every Sunday. And I think consistency is something that other teams do not have, that we have always had. And other teams have played hard against us, and if you'll notice, every week our boys are up to the challenge. And I think this is directly responsible to Coach Vince Lombardi.
Lombardi is a fair coach, and I've always thought he's been very fair to the ball players, and I know he's worked as hard, but it's worth it. And I know at the end of the season, it's certainly a pleasure to end up the champions, and the little extra that you put in during the season is all worthwhile. And being tough, I think, is an easy way of saying that he's been a disciplinarian, an organizer, and a perfectionist. But yet, you know, after the game against Dallas in the championship game, I didn't think he was too tough at all. I went up to him and gave him a little kiss on the cheek, and for me to do that, I don't think he's the tough guy that everybody thinks he really is.
Well, if I had to make a big decision, or the biggest decision in my life, I would not make that decision unless I, at first, talked it over with Coach Lombardi. In my 10 years in professional football, I believe that he was the most dominant person that I came in contact with. For that matter, in all of my athletics, I will look back on Coach Lombardi as probably the man who stands out in all of my athletic years.